Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Really good episode of NXT tonight, but we got to do some news and notes. We're also going to do the Great American Bash prediction show, so we'll probably be here for a little while. I don't know how long it's going to be, but we're probably going to be here a while. All right, let's do the show first, then we'll do the predictions, and then we'll do news and notes at the end. Now, the reason why we're going to do news and notes at the end is because it involves the politics stuff, which some people are not interested in, so I'll put it at the end. And we're going to talk about that. And for those of you who might be interested, Steph Delander, who wrestled in WWE as Persia Parada, started talking about how they did a show for Ron DeSantis while she was at NXT. And how this sort of and then there was a tweet or an Instagram post or whatever by Dragon Lee supporting the movie Sound of Freedom. And everybody thinks that there's a bunch of QAnon conspiracy theorists in NXT. So we're not going to talk about that right here. We'll talk about it later. All right, let's start the show first. So Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley, they start the show. I can't believe we're starting NXT just like we start Raw, for Christ's sake. Anyway, Dominic claims he made the Mysterio name relevant, while Rhea Ripley talked about Lyra Valkyria being courageous and getting in her face. The crowd is chanting, cut the mullet at Dominic. Rhea Ripley compliments him on his mullet. And then Wesley interrupts. Wesley is very upset. You know, he's having actual human emotions here. Says he hates seeing the North American title in the hands of Dominic Mysterio. That his entire run, he lifted that title up, put his heart and soul into it, and he wants a rematch. So Mustafa Ali interrupts, saying that he has love and respect for Wesley. He has none of those things for Dom. And then said Dominic is a thief. This is what he does. He stole Ray 619. He stole his, quote, other daddy's frog splash, which people didn't see that. They didn't hear that. If they'd have heard that, they probably would have had a bigger reaction for it. But he says that he would have beat Wesley at Great American Bash if it wasn't for Dominic. So Wesley gets in Mustafa Ali's face, and Ali was like, look, what's going on? We're friends. I'm just frustrated. Says, I tried to warn you, but you were too stupid to listen. So Dominic is trying to get out of here because these two guys are arguing. And Dominic says, this is a you guys problem. It's not a Dom and Rhea problem. So I'm out of here. So he says to Wesley he's going to break all of his records. And then he shoved Mustafa Ali and said, champ, coming through. So Mustafa Ali goes to throw the punch. Dominic ducks. He ends up punching Wesley. And yeah, triple threat, which is what I saw from the beginning. I absolutely hate triple threat matches. I cannot believe in the year of our Lord 2023, the triple threat match is still being used. So terrible. Oh my God. Ugh. Anyway, later in the show, Dominic Mysterio gets hit with the triple threat idea. It apparently is Rhea Ripley's idea to fight both of them. She assures him that it's good and that he'll win and everything is working out, and she always comes out on top and she's always right. This is where she's stretching her leg on Dominic's shoulder. And bruh, again, Buddy Matthews, he's sitting at home on a couch in a hotel in a jacuzzi in a cold bath or something. Probably his phone just starts to blow up. He probably not watching NXT. What's the likelihood of him watching NXT and he sees this? And you know, this bodacious leg draped over the shoulder of Dominic Mysterio being stretched ever so lovingly. And I just bet he was just like, I said it before, I say it again. I gotta fight every night to prove my love. He probably sending very strongly worded emails and text messages to WWE, Dominic, Rhea Ripley, everybody. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me? You know that's going to make them bully me. They're going to talk about this on Wednesday. They're going to talk about it on Saturday. He got a ladder match on Saturday over a mask. They're going to have that man jumping off ladders over a mask, his girlfriend getting her legs stretched by young Dom. Just What you doing on a Saturday night? I'm wrestling a guy over a mask. Where is your girlfriend going to be? I don't know, but Tuesday night she was getting them legs stretched. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. Poor Buddy Murphy. Oh boy. He better hope that it don't turn into some Taskmaster Chris Benoit thing, because that could be the worst possible option for this guy. You know, luckily Dominic, I think, is he's engaged or something, but it ain't like it matters. Rings don't mean nothing. This is the real world here. This ain't Disney, you know. So anyway, Lyra Valkyria, she approached Rhea Ripley apparently in a exclusive comment thing on Monday, where she said she's tired of trying to prove herself to Rhea Ripley. She's going to instead prove herself in the ring. So then she did a promo segment where she says that she's been watching Rhea Ripley the entire time she's been in NXT. She's been watching Rhea Ripley since she was in NXT UK, and she needs to know where she stands. She wants to know whether she's ready to take her place amongst, you know, the greats in the WWE women's division. And what better way to do that than to challenge Rhea Ripley head up? I'm not going to lie to you. I love this. I think this is good. And I'm almost at the point where you're saying, like, why not put Lyra Valkyria in Judgment Day? You know, she's not doing anything else, for Christ's sake. But this was awesome. You know, Lyra Valkyria versus Rhea Ripley, really good match. Probably one of the better Lyra Valkyria matches she's had in the United States. She's been sort of meh in the U.S. You know, she was really good in NXT UK, kind of meh in the U.S., but this, she really brought it here. He told a simple story of Lyra Valkyria being underestimated by Rhea Ripley. She was able to pull out a couple of counters early. And then she got kind of cocky when she stepped on Rhea's back. And then you could see, like, Rhea was like, okay, this bitch, she's playing too much now. So they had a match. It was pretty good. The suplex spot where Lyra Valkyria looks like she hit an impaler DDT on Rhea Ripley, it was nasty. I don't know if it was a brain buster. I didn't know if it was a botch. I had no idea what it was. But it was kind of ugly. Even though it looked very cool, Rhea was pretty safe. So, of course, Rhea Ripley wins with the Riptide. The match was about 10 minutes. Very solid. Elevated Lyra Valkyria quite a bit. After the match, Rhea Ripley squeezed Lyra Valkyria by the face and said, "Prove me right. Go finish JC Jane." And they left. So it was supposed to be, I guess, an Undertaker Jeff Hardy type of situation where Rhea Ripley's not that old, but it was supposed to be an opportunity for Lyra Valkyria to show a different side of her, that she can hang, that she's the badass that Rhea Ripley said she is, and she did that. Even though she lost, she was able to hang. So if that was the goal, success. You know, a lot of people are interested in Lyra Valkyria now. She still needs a personality. That's not going to change. She definitely needs a personality, but in ring, she's got it going. You know, I think it should just make her a member of Judgment Day. She already got the Wednesday Addams thing going. I don't know if I would give her like Rhea Ripley's protege. I don't think she's that young. In fact, I think they might be peers. They might be in the same age group. I think Lyra Valkyria is probably in that 25, 26 age group. But, you know, okay, whatever. If she's going to come up to the main roster, because apparently Liv Morgan is injured, like long-term injured, so maybe they'd be looking to replace her. She comes across as like another Alba Fire to me right now. You know, another Alba Fire, another Isla Dawn. You bring them up, you do nothing with them. I don't suggest bringing up Lyra Valkyria. Plus, she's not done with JC Jane yet. So, I'm interested in this. And I wonder where JC Jane has been, as Rhea Ripley has been, like, getting people to beat her up. She's had nothing to say about this. She didn't interfere in this match. She didn't do anything. That seems unfair. Especially since I'm a fan of JC Jane. That seems very unfair. Rhea, don't do that. How about it? All right, the Dominic Mysterio Rhea Ripley stuff, good. Not a fan of this triple threat idea, but everything else was pretty good. Tony D'Angelo, he's back, and it felt good to be well received. Bronco Nima and Lucien Price got in their faces saying that they said, we're from the streets. You guys, we never heard of you. The streets that we come from, never heard your name ringing bells on them streets. Tony D'Angelo says, in some places we move in silence. So then they ended up basically getting challenged to a match. And these guys are huge. These dudes are monsters. These Lucien and Nima, these are two big dudes. They're some big guys, man. And they can move. They're fairly young guys, big dudes. I would not have beat them in their first match. So Tony D'Angelo and Stacks defeated Bronco Nima and Lucien Price. I don't understand what's the point in building them up as being badasses and then they lose their first match. Sean, explain that to me. Come here and have a seat. Come have a seat right next to me and explain to me in detail, like I'm 5 years old, why you would book these two guys to lose their first match. I'm very interested in, your thought process in doing so, because it doesn't make sense to me. All right. So they're hanging out with your boy Scripps, who was on commentary. Then he got attacked by Axiom. And he whooped his ass, put his foot in his ass all up and down the ring. They was in the ring and everything. So I guess they're going to try to blame it on it was a distraction, I guess. I don't know. Bronco Nima and Lucien Price, I still can't tell them apart, but them losing doesn't seem like a smart move. Doesn't seem smart to beat the guys in their first match. Afterwards, Gallas cut a promo, but Joe Coffey's hair is still combed forward, so we're going to ignore that. As long as he looks like a doofus, I have no interest in talking about him. All right, so the first match on the show was the Schism versus Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, and Ilya Dragunov. So this was Can They Coexist? NXT version. Ilya Dragunov tries to hit Torpedo Moscow on Joe Gacy, but Joe Gacy ducks and ends up hitting Trick Williams, and ding dong, Trick Williams head off the goddamn ring steps. He's dizzy and all out of sorts. So then two masked men attack the dyad outside the ring. The two masked men who were in the Schism masks. That leaves Joe Gacy by himself. He ends up getting pinned by Carmelo Hayes. But that wasn't really the story. The story wasn't even about Schism, even though how they lost was very peculiar, and we probably should have followed up on it. The story was that Trick Williams, who was down for the rest of the match, got up and he's fuming at Ilya Dragunov for hitting him with Torpedo Moscow and banging his head against the ring steps. So, backstage, Trick Williams is pissed. He's hot. So Carmelo Hayes tries to calm him down, say, look, I got him. Sunday or whatever, I got him. I'm going to take care of it. So Trick Williams tells him, it ain't about you right now, it's about me. He pissed me off, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to call him out. So Carmelo Hayes goes and does what he thinks is the right thing, which is telling Ilya Dragunov, hey, look, he's about to call you out. And Ilya's, loose, tightening up his tie, putting his suit jacket on and everything. And he's like, look, he likes these guys, but if he gets called out, he's going to answer the call. And whatever happens after that is going to happen. So after the main event, Trick Williams comes out there and he calls out Ilya Dragunov, and Ilya Dragunov came. He came out there and they fight. And Ilya Dragunov beat the shit out of Trick Williams. I mean, he just brutally bashed his head in. Even running from the corner to bash his head in. I mean, Trick Williams was not defending himself for quite a while. And then he was about to hit him with Torpedo Moscow. And that's when Carmelo Hayes came in and took the hit for him. Carmelo Hayes bounces off the mat, selling. And Ilya Dragunov tells him, look, you're a man of honor. And you can appreciate your friendship with Trick Williams because that's all you're going to have left after Sunday when I take the NXT title. I love this. I have not been a big fan of Dragunov and Carmelo staying baby faces. I have not been a big fan of that. But they are teasing a split between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. And how, Carmelo wants to be professional. He wants to let me handle it. That's what he's, telling Trick, let me handle it. And Trick is like, look, you got your issues with him, I got mine. And they've been doing this for a little while now with Trick Williams, where he's got his own problems and he's been trying to deal with them himself. He's got his own feuds that's going on. And now he's going to have this personal feud with Ilya Dragunov. Now, I'm thinking, methinks maybe it's going to be some kind of issue in the match where maybe Trick Williams tries to get some revenge and end up costing Carmelo the title. I don't know. We'll talk about it later. But that would be a sensible ending to that match. You know, I'm not saying I want that ending, but I'm just saying it's a sensible one. All right. Tiffany Stratton had a vignette where she talks about herself, basically, how hard she works, you know, how talented she is at only 24. She says she won't let everything she's done be taken away by some 19-year-old brat. She called Thea Hill a human energy drink and says it's her responsibility to make sure that Thea Hill never becomes the women's champion. And they also had a promo package for Thea Hill later, which was even better. Like this one for Tiffany Stratton was pretty good, with her in front of the flag doing the muscle and everything, you know, the blonde and everything. It was great, very Barbie in the USA. But then you go to the Chase U thing, and it's Chase and it's Duke and it's Thea, and they're working out. They're doing a training montage. You know, Andre Chase tells the story of how she started training at 16. Her parents drove her to training because she wasn't old enough to drive. And of course, Duke Hudson is like, hey, without me, she wouldn't be here. You know, she wouldn't be here, so don't doubt her. If you doubt her, the Battle Royal happens. If you doubt her, what was that? Gold Rush happens. Last week happens. So, Andre Chase says that she's not the biggest, she's not the strongest, but she got the most heart and she got the most spirit. And she could put on that Kimura from anywhere. So they're putting over her intangibles and her technical ability. Thea Hill said that she doesn't need a miracle to defeat Tiffany Stratton. She only needs a chance. And she doesn't believe she can win. She knows she can win. So this was a very powerful video. I really liked this video. The Chase University video was very good. I thought this was phenomenal. This build for this women's match has been pretty good. I know people want Tiffany Stratton to be booked a little stronger, but I think this was perfect for her first feud because it's not her character that she is better than everybody. That's only in her mind. She has to believe she is better than everybody so that when somebody comes along and knocks her off of her own, you know, knocks her on her ass, they look better for it. And since Thea Hill is the ultimate underdog, meaning she's very young, she's, you know, obviously not that big, not that small, you know, not that experienced, and she's a prodigy. So it's basically a battle of two prodigies. But, you know, you get the idea that Thea Hill has been booked as the underdog this entire time because Tiffany Stratton has won most of the matches she's been in. So, you know, Thea Hill is one of the people who, she really just started winning matches recently. So this was a really good setup, and it ought to be a solid enough match. I'm looking forward to it, even though I don't know why it needs to be a submission match, but I'm still looking forward to it. All right, so Von Wagner kills Big Body Javi. It was so unfair. Big Body Javi was as big as Von Wagner. So, poor Javi Airburnall. Why do they treat this guy like this? Anyway, he got powerbombed through a table because the crowd chanted for it. It was terrible. Then Braun Breaker spears Von Wagner. I was like, oh no. Oh no. And he's about to hit him with a chair. But then all the referees and everybody gets involved and snatch the chair from him. So it seems like Braun Breaker is going to be feuding with Von Wagner. Oh, man, he fell off a cliff. He fell off of a cliff. Sheesh. That's no good. That's no good. I don't like Von Wagner. I thought he got called up to Raw. Why he ain't gone yet? Why he ain't gone yet? Please go. Go, 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 go. Next. Gable Steveson. Oh, this was one of the worst promos of all time. I gotta tell you. This is one of the most robotic, soulless promos of all time. It's clear this guy got stage fright. Like he went up there and forgot his own name. Forgot what he was trying to say. Forgot where he was going with the conversation. The whole thing was forgotten. He just went up there and stood up there and just looked around. and didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. Anyway, he started talking about his options: go back to college, go to the Olympics again, or stay in NXT. Then Baron Corbin, of all people, interrupt. Then Baron Corbin says, look, go back to college, go to the Olympics, do anything except stay here in NXT. Because if you do, I'm going to make you do something you've never done before, which is fail. Says that this job will make you question your existence. And he's a shark and he smells blood. None of this was good, all right? None of this was acceptable. None of this was acceptable. Gable Steveson then says that Baron Corbin made his decision for him and that he's going to stay here in NXT. In fact, he's going to challenge Baron Corbin to his very first match at the Great American Bash. Oh, no. This was terrible. This was probably one of the worst things that have taken place on NXT in a long time. And I get it. I understand Gable Steveson probably never cut a promo in front of a live crowd before. Don't know what he's doing. He's on national television. How would you feel? Would you freeze up? I've been in speech classes with people before. I absolutely have. I've seen people faint. I've seen people lock their knees together and they just go and they just collapse. You know, that's why they make you take public speaking courses. They teach you how to talk in front of an audience, how to talk to people, you know, how to make eye contact, know when to look away. You know, look for signs that the audience is listening. Look for signs that the audience is caring what you're talking about. But most importantly, be prepared. Know what you're talking about, or you will freeze. And clearly, he went up there and froze. He was 100% deer in headlights. He didn't know what to do, what to say. I just wish they'd have sent Baron Corbin out there earlier. You know, like he was frosted. I guess they figured he had a chance, or they was going to give him the opportunity. Don't do this again. Not until he's ready. Don't do it again. All right. I'm not going to destroy the guy too much because it is his very first live promo, but this was abysmal. This was definitely some shit you would have seen on like a video that if you're watching somebody train, you probably see something like this. And this was on national TV. Whew, this is a tough one. It was a tough one to swallow, fam. But you know, hopefully it gets better from here. All right, speaking of getting better from here, Dana Brooke dressed as Catwoman versus Cora Jade in a kendo stick match. Now, this wasn't nearly as terrible as the first match they had. It was actually leaps and bounds better. That's only because that first match was so terrible. This one was pretty goddamn mid. So instead of it being like kendo stick on a rope or anything like that, basically just kendo sticks outside the ring. And they used them as weapons, of course. Hit each other with them, body slammed each other on them, that sort of thing. Didn't really care for the pacing. I certainly didn't care for Dana Brooke winning this match. Wasn't a big fan of that. But otherwise, it was okay. It was passable, I guess you could say. For a Dana Brooke match, that is absolutely the highest honor I can give. Poor Cora Jade. I don't know what happened to her. She went from being basically the number one heel to now losing matches to Dana Brooke. That sucks. That's no good. That's no good. The funniest part of this match is Booker T talking about his mama would say, get that switch. Get that switch. Dana Brooke dressed as Catwoman. That didn't even move me, dog. Usually I'm all for the cat suit, you know, with the straps on and everything. Usually I'm all about that. But it's Dana Brooke this time. I was like, I don't know, man. Not enough. She ain't got enough juice. She ain't got enough sweetener in there for me. I can't do it. Poor Cora Jade. Sucks to be hurt these days. I don't know what's going on. But it seems like they just decided she's mid. She's super mid card now, I guess. All right, so Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey, they were frustrated with their training partners. They're too weak. They don't have enough grit. They're not tough enough. So Damon Kemp said, you guys are looking for somebody tough? Looking for somebody with some grit? How about me? I'm looking for somebody who can push me. And so these two guys basically accepted Damon Kemp into their camp. Not apparently wasn't paying attention to what he did to Diamond Mine the last time he was part of a team. He destroyed it from the inside. So apparently these three are going to be partners now. I'm actually okay with this. Now I'm okay with this because Gulak and Dempsey, they are missing something. And Damon Kemp can talk. He has, some personality as opposed to Charlie Dempsey, who has almost none. He's almost like a serial killer. So this is a new trio in NXT. All right, fine. Okay, whatever. All right, so Dijak cut a promo on Eddie Thorpe saying that he needs to slow his roll just because he won one match doesn't mean he's the toughest guy in NXT. Dijak is the law in NXT, and that's something that Thorpe does not want and cannot beat. Okay, look, we don't need Dijak at all. I don't think. Maybe I don't know about this whole Tatanka thing either. They got this guy going on here, this Eddie Thorpe guy. This is Tatanka versus the Big Boss Man. I know what I'm seeing. I know what I'm looking at here. And I don't like it because it's not the real Tatanka, not the real Big Boss Man. It's fucking Dijak. Moving on, Roxanne Perez and Blair Davenport have a fight in a convenience store. Now this is fun. This was fun. And what made it fun, even though it was 100,000 camera cuts at one time, it was definitely overproduced, is that they had the three different kinds of footage. So you had Blair Davenport, who was going live on her phone. So that you had that footage. Then you had the camera footage from inside the store. So it was like the camera footage from inside the store. Then it's like the regular NXT cameras. They was cutting back and forth to the three. You certainly didn't need to cut back and forth to the three, but it gave it a unique feel where you're watching it through the grainy video of the camera at the store and the slightly blurry video from the camera phone and then the regular crisp cameras from NXT. So Roxanne Perez attacked her from behind and knocked her all into the coolant and bashed her head against like the baked beans and pork and beans and stuff like that on the wall. Nobody got covered in anything like, the old Booker T, Steve Austin, where they were covered in milk and all that kind of stuff. They didn't go that far. But it was the two of them just fighting around the store. One of them got thrown over some tables. They was hitting each other with empty boxes. Nobody's crushed like a banana in somebody's head or something like that, which would have been fun. So they fight, and then, you hear the cops outside, and Roxanne Perez said, "This is what you wanted. This is just a taste of what you're going to get at Great American Bash, where they're going to have a Weapons Wild match." A Weapons Wild match. What is that? What is that? What is Weapons Wild match? What is that? Clearly they're just going to use weapons, right? Is it going to involve the wheel? I hope it doesn't involve the wheel. Please don't involve the wheel. Just make it no disqualification. Like again, we just saw a no disqualification match. The goddamn kendo stick match was no disqualification. We're just awash in no disqualification matches these days. Oh. Anyway, let's move on. So the Metaphor, they were hosting Supernova sessions with the guest being Noam Dar. I'm going to cut through this because this was nonsense. They ran down the story of how Nathan Fraser became the North American champion. The Heritage Cup champion because Noam Dar was injured and couldn't perform. So they got Noam Dar a replica of the Heritage Cup to break him out of his catatonic state. So now he's wide awake, wiped away the slop from his face. He's no longer weekend at Bernie's. He's got his baby back or whatever. So then Nathan Fraser comes out there, calls Noam Dar a fraud. Dragon Lee calls Jakara and Lash Legend annoying women and says that Noam Dar is delusional. Then this leads to the big fight between the four of them. Yulisa Leon and Valentina Ferraz came out to help Dragon Lee and Nathan Fraser. So it was two women on each side, two men on each side. And I guess they're going to have now that Noam Dar is, cleared, I suppose, they're going to have some sort of match where Noam Dar defends his Heritage Cup, considering he was never beat for it. even though he gave sort of power of attorney to, what's that guy named Oro Mensah? He was never actually pinned. So the opportunity is going to be there to do something between Nathan Frazer and Noam Dar to sort of crown who is the legitimate lineal champion, which ought to be interesting, I guess. I just don't understand why Dragon Lee's tied up in this. I'm fine with Valentina Ferraz and Yulisa Leon being involved with this because they haven't been doing anything anyway. So them being involved here is useful. I like it. Fine. All right. So one more thing on NXT that I really, really loved. Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. Angel's trying to catch Humberto as Humberto is storming off. This is from last week. So Humberto yells at Angel to listen to him for the first time. Listen to him. And he says, are we chasing the women or are we chasing the glory? And Angel was stumped for a second. He's like, wait a minute. That's a good question. That's a good question. That's a good question, Holmes. I'm not quite sure. Why not both? Why can't we do both, man? All right, so they're about to change the characters of Los Lotharios. Apparently, they're not going to be about the girls anymore. They're going to be about the glory. Oh, God. They're going to come out like the shining stars, aren't they? They're going to be like goddamn Epico and Primo. No. They should... What's wrong with them being the Latin lovers? What's wrong with them being those guys? That stuff works. Why can't they be that? Why should they be anywhere near generic when this works for them? It works for Angel, and it works for, like, the two handsome guys. Why wouldn't they be trying to woo the girls? If anything, they should just reorganize their agenda. That the glory comes first, then you get the girls. Like, first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the pussy. Don't be no dummy. You heard the song. Everybody heard the song before. I know they heard the song before. They got radios in Mexico. They go hand in hand. You heard the song. Everybody knows this song by now. If they haven't heard it, then they probably need to talk to Carmelo and Trick Williams and tell them to play Hand in Hand by DJ Quick featuring El DeBarge. So you got to get the money first. The money comes from the glory. You get it? Once you're the champions or you're chasing something that has, real material meaning, then the girls will follow. Players get their paper when the game is tight. And if you want to get something out, that's for you to decide. But as long as you ain't simping, then you're doing it right. Because together they go hand in hand. I'm trying to tell you. I wish I need to write for NXT. I'm gonna write these guys a letter, an email, or something. And, somebody gotta let these guys know, because they off on the wrong foot. You can do both. You just gotta reorganize your thought process a little bit. You can still be sexy, flexy, and go out here and do your thing, but just make sure you win some championships and stuff first. All right, so that was the best thing about NXT. NXT was really good. They take chances. They do different things, unlike Raw and SmackDown, which seem to do the same thing over and over again. Even got a little bit of that over and over again with all of the Judgment Day stuff on NXT, but they was not overexposed this time. They only really had 3 segments, I think. So, and it was very short segments. Outside of the Dominic segment, which set up his triple threat match at Great American Bash, they were not on screen that long. And, the Rhea's match, because she had like a 10-minute match. So it was fine. It was very good. Very good show. Not a big fan of Gable Steveson. No. He sucks. The buddy sucks. Von Wagner also sucks. It's a shame what's going on to Brian Breaker and Cora Jade. I thought they had something going here. Apparently, Sean has he doesn't know what to do with him. He's kind of threw his hands up and it's kind of like, go out there and wrestle this big ugly ape. And Braun's like, all right, sure, I'll do that. I'll go wrestle the ape. Oh, whatever. All right. Let's get into the Great American Bash because we got to do the predictions. 7-match card. It is going to be live from Texas, Cedar Park, Texas. Ought to be a fun show, but looking at the card is kind of. All right, so we got 2 women's matches on the show. Ought to be fine. One of them is a hometown girl. But this is, I guess, I'm not sure if this is the pre-show match or if this is going to make the main card. But Nathan Frazer, Dragon Lee, Yulisa Leone, and Valentina Feroz versus the Metaphor, who is Noam Dar, Oro Mensah, Lash Legend, and Jakara Jackson. I definitely think the Metaphor should win this match. I think Yulisa Leone or whatever could take the pin. They need some momentum, and they're a real stable, while Nathan Frazer's group is just a group. I'm not a big fan of Dragon Lee losing again, but you have to establish the Metaphor as being more than just comedic jabronis, you know? If they don't come across like a real threat soon, then they might as well just keep pushing Noam Dar in a wheelchair. So I think they should honestly win and then set up Noam Dar's rematch against Nathan Frazer by having them win this match. But I don't want Dragon Lee involved with this. I really don't. I think this is stupid. He doesn't need, why is he involved with this shit? Find somebody else. There's plenty of other people in NXT to put in this situation. Dragon Lee should be wrestling for a title. He should not be involved with this. So unless he's about to turn heel and kick the shit out of Nathan Frazer, I don't want him involved with this. I've been saying that for about a month now. I'm tired of saying that. Next, North American Championship triple threat match. Dominic Mysterio versus Mustafa Ali versus Wes Lee. I can see it now. Clear as crystal. Wes Lee and Mustafa Ali are going to start fighting each other, and they're going to fight each other viciously, and Dominic is going to roll in and steal the win. He's probably going to let Mustafa Ali hit the 450, and then he's going to grab him, throw him outside the ring, and pin Wes Lee. I can see it coming. Or Wes Lee's going to hit the cardiac kick on Mustafa Ali. Then he's going to throw him over. Dominic's going to throw Wes Lee over the top rope and pin Mustafa Ali. I see it coming. I do not see this going any other way than Dominic throws somebody over the top rope and then pins the other guy. So Dominic Mysterio wins. He's been drawing as the North American champion. Apparently he did pretty good numbers on Raw and SmackDown, defending the title. So I don't see why you wouldn't take it off of him right now. Besides, when you beat Dominic, it should matter. I don't think he should win it here. Maybe you should have him defended at SummerSlam too. You know, I don't know who you would have as an opponent, but I don't know. Maybe just have it. Just do it just because you can do it. You know, why not? I find it hard to believe that Dominic Mysterio will not make SummerSlam. You know, that would be dumb, wouldn't it? That would be like really stupid for Dominic Mysterio to not make SummerSlam, even though he's the most over heel on the roster. Yeah, it would be dumb. So I would imagine he would probably defend the the North American belt at SummerSlam. He should. You know, who would his opponent be? Who cares? You know, the card. He just needs to be on the card somewhere. And since Rhea is not wrestling, he needs to be on the card too. All right, next match, submission match, NXT Women's Championship, Tiffany Stratton versus Thea Hale. All right, so they've done a really good job of putting Thea Hale over, but clearly they did that because they want Tiffany Stratton to look even better when she beats her. Thea Hale is going to be women's champion one day, but maybe in like a year. They got to get some more seasoning under her belt. And I think maybe a heel Thea Hale would probably be much better. She's really great as a babyface right now, but it's Tiffany Stratton's time. You know, she hasn't had time to do much with this title yet. She hasn't had time to really establish herself yet. This is her first feud. So she's probably going to go over here. So that's fine for Thea Hale because it's actually going to benefit the Chase University characters, because once she loses, there's going to be maybe they're going to have to who's to blame for her losing and all this kind of stuff. They're going to make it work with Chase University because they're super over. And people are going to be okay with Thea Hale not winning. So Tiffany Stratton has to win. All right, Tag Team Championship. Gallas, which is Mark Coffey and Wolfgang, versus Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo. I definitely think that D'Angelo family should win this title. They've been involved with this story all this time. The good guys, which I can't believe are the mobs, need to come out on top. So yeah, the mob needs to come out on top because they're the good guys here. Maybe you have Nima and Lucien attack them after the match, like in the parking lot or something like that, in order to create some heat between those two teams. But Gallas really ain't got nothing left in the tank. There's not much you can really do with Gallas anymore. I don't think anybody even cares about these guys at that point. It's real sad, but I don't think anybody gives a shit. Speaking of not giving a shit, Baron Corbin versus Gable Steveson. Just a singles match, nothing on the line. Clearly, Gable Steveson is going to win. Baron Corbin retired Kurt Angle, the only Olympic gold medalist in WWE. So he got that under his cap. And now he's going to try to retire another gold medalist. And this time he's going to bite off more than he can chew. I don't understand why Baron Corbin was the guy picked to do this, considering they put all this effort into rebuilding his character. And when you're rebuilding a character, you typically just don't have them lose right out of the gate, because it defeats the point of rebuilding the character if it's going to continue to lose anyway, right? Like it's so how do you get out of this? Baron Corbin can't possibly win. Like, is he going to defeat Gable Steveson? That would be awful for Gable Steveson if he was to lose this match. But all the effort, all the vignettes and everything they've been doing with Baron Corbin, why would you then turn around and beat him immediately? I guess, same question, why would you beat Lucien and Nima in their first match? But, Sean is not going to explain anything to anybody. He doesn't have to. Cockeyed bastard. So I'm going to go with Gable Steveson. So they're going to waste all these promos and stuff, all this time you spent on Baron Corbin. Weapons Wild, Blair Davenport versus Roxanne Perez. Now, Roxanne Perez is from Texas, so this is a hometown match for her. I'm guessing she's going to win. I'm not really a big fan of that, because then it just makes her and Davenport 1-1, and it begs for them to have a third match. Them trying to give Roxanne Perez an edge, it's okay, but you can still tell that she's trying to play wrestler. Like, how Jim Cornette says that you either are or you're playing. And you can still tell that Roxanne Perez is playing. How can you tell she's playing? Because there's no real malice in the attack in the grocery store. It was actually kind of comedic how she was picking up empty boxes and hitting her with. Like, you're not going to kill her with an empty box. Like, if she was like throwing cans of Hormel chili at her head or something like that, then that might have been funny. If she'd have dumped like ice cream all over her, like I said, pelted her with some apples or something like that, then I might buy into it. But like, you're hitting her with empty Chiquita banana bottles. I'm sorry, Chiquita banana boxes. I don't know if I buy that if you're serious about, putting a hurting on somebody. So Blair Davenport, to me, is probably a future world champion on the main roster. She can afford to lose this. It doesn't mean anything. And as long as Blair Davenport is not going to be the champion in NXT, which you never know whether she's going to be or not at this point, then you can drop this match to Roxanne Perez, and then Blair Davenport can go up to the main roster. The issue is going to be, what do you do with her? She's got top heel potential, but are they really going to utilize her in that role? Like, I really like Blair Davenport in terms of what she can do. And I think she could be a top heel and even in NXT, but you have a freshly minted heel champion in Tiffany Stratton, so you're not going to remove her. On the main roster, you got Rhea Ripley, who's the monster heel. You're not going to remove her. And Asuka, who is the heel champion on SmackDown, and she's more likely to be moved, but you can't do that immediately. But you can put Blair Davenport on the right track, I guess. I really like Blair Davenport. I like the menace that she brings to the ring. She has some killer instinct. She has some muscle to her stuff. I just want to see more from her, and I know that her injuries have made her run kind of shitty, and you haven't been able to see a lot out of her, but she needs room to grow. And I don't know if having a feud with Roxanne Perez is the right thing. She needs somebody who's going to bring some of that stuff out of her. And I'm not sure if Roxanne Perez is the right person, or if this is the right angle. Like, if Roxanne Perez was fighting from underneath and she was the scrappy underdog, then maybe. So it might be like right for Blair Davenport as a character to fight like Thea Hale after Thea Hill loses this, for her to get into a Blair Davenport, because, at least at that point, Davenport could be more established. She can actually be the bully, and then somebody can fight from underneath, rather than you trying to turn Roxanne Perez into, I don't know, trying to show her killer instinct, and she doesn't really have much of anything. And therefore, it makes Blair Davenport look kind of silly that she was getting beat up by Roxanne Perez, who it still comes across like a 14-year-old girl. All right, but that match is booked for the show, and I expect Roxanne Perez to win because she's in her hometown. But that's AEW booking. WWE booking, you lose in your hometown. So I'm more inclined to go with Blair Davenport. All right, so NXT Championship, Carmelo Hayes versus Ilya Dragunov. All right, I want to say Ilya Dragunov. I do. I'm thinking they're going to do something big to end the show, because I don't know what could be the big angle coming out of this show outside of Trick turning on Carmelo Hayes. And something tells me that, that is the next level. That Trick Williams is going to be pissed that Carmelo Hayes didn't have his back when it comes to fighting Ilya Dragunov. So maybe Trick doesn't come out with Carmelo. Maybe Carmelo comes out by himself, and then Trick shows up later, and he mistakenly cost Carmelo the title. We don't even need to do the full heel turn there, but you can just do it like he got overzealous, tried to attack Ilya, ended up hitting Melo, fucked Melo out of the title, and now the two of them are arguing about it. You could do that. That would protect Carmelo Hayes to a degree. Of course, he already lost 2 matches to Finn Balor, which, if he was to drop the belt to Ilya Dragunov, would be stealing from Ilya Dragunov, because Dragunov should have beat Carmelo Hayes, not fucking Finn Balor, but whatever. So there's some substance here. There's seeds for a big heel turn here. But I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on it, So I'm gonna say that they're going to pull the trigger on it, but I'm not sure. Because it seems like they need something, a big hook going into the show Tuesday. And they need a big angle coming out of that show outside of, hey, Judgment Day is going to be here again. They need something big, something that happened at the pay-per-view that boils over into the Tuesday, and that people are going to talk about for the rest of that show. And I think Ilya Dragunov winning the title, Trick Williams turning on Carmelo Hayes, that's the big one. I think that makes sense. All right, so for NXT Great American Bash, my predictions are the Metaphor to defeat Nathan Frazer, Dragon Lee, Yulisa Leon, and Valentina Feroz, Dominic Mysterio to retain the North American title, Tiffany Stratton to defeat Thea Hale, for the D'Angelo family to defeat Gallas, for Gable Steveson to defeat Baron Corbin, and for Roxanne Perez to defeat Blair Davenport, and for Ilya Dragunov to win the NXT Championship from Carmelo Hayes, and for Trick Williams to turn on Carmelo Hayes. So that is that in terms of the show and in terms of predictions. All right, so now our final piece of business comes from Steph DeLander. Now, Steph DeLander, who wrestled as Persia Pirotta in NXT, she did an interview where she mentioned Ron DeSantis, current governor of Florida, calling WWE to do a quote-unquote private show in which him and his children watched an NXT show on a Saturday morning. So it went thusly. She says, quote, "I've wrestled in front of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis." She called him, of course. "I wrestled for DeSantis. I did meet him. He came to the WWE PC once. We got called in on a Saturday that Ron DeSantis wanted to have a wrestling show for his kids. So him and his family came in, and they sat front row, and we all beat each other up on a Saturday morning because he wanted to take his kids to see wrestling." Now, there was no date given for this, so nobody knows when this occurred. And of course, the interviewer that she did the interview with didn't ask any follow-up questions, which, you you would kind of do, especially if you're going to try, if you know this is going to be something that's going to be picked up and carried around. It would have been interesting if we would have got as many details as we could. But we don't know what day this was. We don't know if it was during the pandemic or it was after the pandemic. But to be quite honest, it had to be after, because 2020 was pandemic year. And as Wrestling Inc. says, Persia Parada was only in WWE from March of 2021 to April of 2022. So there's some overlap with the pandemic there in like early 2021. They were still doing Thunderdome stuff. So it's likely that it probably happened around that time. So, of course, this has led to a lot of people just absolutely losing their mind about WWE doing business with Ron DeSantis and Trump and all of this kind of stuff. It's just like, I'm like, oh my God. It's such a headache. Like, Ron DeSantis did WWE a big favor in granting them the essential status, which allowed them to keep doing shows at the time. So wrestlers continued to get paid. And this is the political patronage system that we live in. You know, he figures, hey, I want to take my kids to see a wrestling show. That ought to be fun for them. We don't know if only his kids there. We didn't get into any more details. How many more people were there? Like, you see a lot of the wrestling news sites are calling it a private show. She didn't say it was a private show. She didn't say there was nobody else there. She just said it was a Saturday morning and Ron DeSantis was there. Okay, we need more details than that. Was it a private show? Was it during the pandemic? What happened? You know, what's going on? But I guess we're going to have to just sit and wait. But some people didn't sit and wait. They just kind of fly off the handle and lost their minds. But this whole thing has become a huge talking point among the libtard brain rot on the wrestling Twitter. Like, look, wrestling Twitter is a den of iniquity. Don't take anything they say seriously. But there's a lot of idiots on there who truly believe that everybody in NXT is some kind of QAnon conspiracy theorist. So Dragon Lee, over the weekend, he posted something for Sound of Freedom, the movie Sound of Freedom. It was basically like a screenshot or something like that. And everybody just started flipping out. Oh my God, Dragon Lee is QAnon. He's doing QAnon stuff in NXT. Everybody in NXT is doing QAnon stuff. Nikita Lyons is QAnon. Everybody's QAnon. Like, most of these people can't even explain what the fuck QAnon is supposedly supposed to be. You know, most of these people can't even figure it out. If you ask them what the hell QAnon is, they probably give you two different answers. Most of these people have no idea what QAnon is, but they tell you that NXT is full of it. It's full of QAnon. Basically, it's somewhat of a conspiracy theory about global elites, sex trafficking, and Donald Trump. It got something to do with all of those things. We've talked about it some more, about how much these people think that sex trafficking is a conspiracy theory, despite the fact that there's tons and tons of evidence against the idea that it was a conspiracy theory. But apparently a couple of years ago, CM Punk posted that there was a QAnon cult in NXT. And the interesting bit is that the liberal elitists, they get all the information. It's all top down, right? So what ends up happening is, I call it the snot effect. You know how your sinuses hold all your mucus, and then when you have like a cold, like it starts running down into your lips and stuff like that? That's how a lot of liberal politics works, is that it comes from up top. It comes from the media. It comes from the government. It comes from the elite universities, all that trash. And basically they believe it because somebody of importance said it. Therefore, it must be true. Therefore, it must be right. And this is where everything that disagrees with the mainstream narrative becomes a conspiracy theory. Now, we don't know how many NXT wrestlers might be Republicans. We have no earthly idea how many of them there could be. We do know that some of them have come out and were pretty much openly Republican. I know Nikita Lyons had a big deal with her, with the Topher song. in her videos, and people had, photoshopped her storming the Capitol, all this sort of stuff. We know Drake Wirtz was proselytizing on the job at NXT. He ended up getting fired, which is the interesting thing, right? Because Drake, if it was such a QAnon cult, why did they fire Drake Wirtz? Why did he get fired? Why didn't they support him in all of his decisions? Why did they bully Jackson Riker out of WWE during the pandemic if it was all about, hey, the QAnon cult? See, the thing is that these folks cannot deal with the fact that people think differently than they do. When you see Dragon Lee post about a movie, The Sound of Freedom, there's 100 different things that could come out of this. One, the guy just likes the movie. That's it. He saw the movie. He likes the movie. Two, he knows somebody who's in the movie. Maybe it's because he's Mexican and a lot of the movie is set in Mexico. Maybe it hits close to home because, yes, sex trafficking, children is a big thing in Mexico. Maybe it's, a myriad of other things that could have to do with him as a person. Maybe it touched him as a father. He just had a baby recently. So maybe that's the thing where he just can't imagine, his child being taken away from him or something to that effect. Why does it have to immediately go to QAnon, conspiracy theory, Trump supporter? Yeah, like, why are we going that far? It doesn't have anything to do with that. He posted about a movie. It was completely different when Drake Wirtz was going on camera and ranting and raving and crying and all this kind of stuff. That was completely different. I still don't see why he got fired for that, outside of he was wearing a WWE shirt or something like that when he did that. I don't see why he got fired for that. But Dragon Lee posting a picture of a movie, basically the exact same thing. Didn't a basketball player just do this? Like, we literally should have learned from the basketball player. When you post a screenshot of something that you like or something that you watched, you don't, and with no context, you don't know why they posted that. Ask questions first. When people jump to conclusions, you can tell that that's where their mind is. When people say define wokeness, wokeness is the ability to find racism or some type of discrimination or some reason to name call people when there does not need to be a reason there. Somebody posted about a movie. If the first thing that came to your mind about this movie was QAnon, conspiracy theory, Donald Trump, you're a woke idiot and you don't have a brain of your own. The first thing that would have came to my mind is, does the guy just like the movie? If he'd have posted about Barbie, what would that tell you about him? It wouldn't tell you shit, because it's about a goddamn movie, or it's about dolls or something like that. How do we get to, and then they claim that the right is always the ones pushing the culture war. It's like, you guys are scouring people's social media accounts, looking for reasons to get upset, looking for things to be mad about. You're looking at their likes and you're scrolling through their likes and what did they like? Why did they like that? And I made the fate. I'm gonna, pull the curtain back on myself a little bit. When I opened up Twitter one time and I saw that Jim Cornette had retweeted the Church of Satan, and I started to say something about it. And then I was like, you know what? This is something that David Bixenspan would get upset about. And so I kept scrolling. I didn't pay it no mind. I was like, you know what? I don't like that. But just keep moving. I could have made a video about it. I could have ranted and raved about it. The first time I ever mentioned it on this channel is right here. Because to me, getting into what people like what they click the heart on, or what they retweet, and all this kind of stuff, is you trying to find something to be upset about. And it's a clear case of you've been gotten to, and that you're terminally online and you have no fucking life. If you want to be upset that WWE did a private show for Ron DeSantis, okay, fine. I don't even like that. I don't like the idea of the political patronage system. I've said that 100 times on this channel. I don't like the idea that Ron DeSantis gets to make the decision over what's an essential business and what is not an essential business. I don't like that. That's stupid to me. Giving the government that kind of authority is foolish, as we have already seen how they can shut down your economy and ruin good businesses and find people into poverty. Why the hell would you want to give people that kind of authority? But because it was Ron DeSantis, we're going to be upset? No, it wouldn't have mattered who it was. It's a problem. So if you're upset about the Ron DeSantis private show, okay, fine. That's fine. If you're going to be upset because a couple of wrestlers are Republicans, like maybe Lacey Evans or Jackson Riker or Nikita Lyons or whatever the case may be, then you're going to have to get over it. Because why would you think that Republicans wouldn't be in an industry that has thousands of people in it? You mean to tell me you expect to have complete ideological purity over the universities, over the mainstream media, over pretty much Hollywood in general and pro wrestling? It's like, my God, how much of a tyrant do you expect to be? I don't walk through life or waltz through life expecting everybody to agree with me. I say shit that is offensive on purpose sometimes because I don't expect people to agree with me. But when you are in the wrestling media and you have tweets like this is from Jim Valley. I guess you have to comply. WWE doesn't want to get Disneyed. Did the gay wrestlers get to stay home, or did DeSantis ask to see them get beat up? Violence is fine. Show your kids gay people and it's hello Julie Garland. DeSantis' immigration policy was inspired by the NXT parking lot. Like, how is that in any way sensible, right? Is that sensible? You think Ron DeSantis hates gay people because he doesn't want children being indoctrinated with homosexuality in schools and sexually explicit books? Like, where is your level of intelligence on this issue? Anybody with even a modicum of level of intelligence on these issues would see the vulgarity in the books that were banned and say, you know what? I can agree. Those probably shouldn't be in the hands of children. Books that are showing oral sex, anal sex, or anything like that should not be in the hands of children. How is that in any way an issue? How is that a problem? And the idea that he hates gays, I'm like, where does that come from? It comes from the media. The don't say gay bill and all this kind of horse shit, right? Stuff that they made up, just like they just made up all of this stuff about the slaves and all this shit, right? His slave policy that they teaching the kids that people benefited from slavery. It's like, you have to understand, when you get something from the media, it's filtered through politics. You usually have to go to the source and look at that stuff yourself. Most people don't do that. They read headlines and then they knee-jerk react and then they say, I'm so smart. They start clapping like seals. These people are stupid, man. These people are stupid. So I always look at this thing and say, there is no den of iniquity in NXT. If it was, Drake Wirtz wouldn't have been fired. If it was, Jackson Riker wouldn't have been forced out. If it was, then more wrestlers would come out and openly say that they didn't want to take the vaccine. Or they would have been pro the don't say gay bill or whatever, any kind of DeSantis policy that he supports. But how many wrestlers have you actually seen tweet positively about DeSantis policy? Virtually none. The one time you saw a wrestler tweet something positive about Republicans, he got roasted out of the company. And that was, Jackson Riker. You never see these people. These people are looking, they're mining for this kind of stuff. They're looking for it. They're digging deep to try to find people to be upset about and reasons to be angry, because they virtue signal so hard on their side. They expect you to be covert on your side. When I wish people could be more overtly antagonistic to the establishment. And by the establishment, I mean the real establishment. I mean big pharma, the big media, the government, etc. You're not allowed to be antagonistic towards those people and keep your job, Nowhere. Oh, you get to go out there and talk about trans and the kids, but you can't go out there and say trans and the kids is wrong. Oh, you don't have no freedom of speech, So This idea that NXT is some kind of den of iniquity, there's too much evidence to the contrary. They just posted about how Shawn Michaels is super woke because, you know, he made a black champion and he was arguing with Road Dogg about the importance of Black Lives Matter and all this kind of shit. But now all of a sudden it's a QAnon pit of vipers. Get the fuck out of here. All right. Thank you guys. I'll talk to you guys later.